Hey, Bird, what up?
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh my gosh, good. Just, you know, trying to deal with athletes and coaching online. It's an interesting concept.
It's crazy. It's like it's hard.
Oh
It's
my
like
gosh.
legit hard.
Yeah, and if you have a
So,
kid that can't get video and you're trying to do video, it's going to be really interesting to see like
or
technique wise what we're going to get.
yeah, but yeah, it's been. I mean, just nonstop, like trying to change it up, keep them guessing,
Oh yeah.
keep everything rolling. Khadevis, what up?
How you doing?
Oh, Jenna, but by the way, can you text me, Jen? Is this because I don't have your number? I thought I had your number.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
I'm great. Can't complain.
Yeah. You know who I just saw that told me to tell you hi is Gary Kablayan.
How Gary? My boy.
Yeah,
Big guy.
he told me to tell you hi. Yeah, because it was funny because he was wearing a Santa Monica Track Club T-shirt,
Was he?
and I was like, I was like, who I'm about to see right now is Khadevis. Yeah, he was.
I don't know if you know this.
We had some athletes around him.
Gary's wife was on his team when I was on there. His
Yeah.
wife, yeah, Sandra.
Yep. Yep. 800 meters. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. She was a she's a beast.
yeah, man.
Dang. How's everything going? How are the kids and the family, everything?
My family and my kids are great. The school we ain't started. School started, but not with we ain't started practicing yet. So
Okay. Are you guys gonna get to practice? I know some places like.
we'll see.
Yeah, because like for me, I try not to get too far into it because like every time I think something's about to happen, it changes.
Yeah,
Every
man.
time I think I.
I think it's right now. I think they're really trying to decide on what sports they're going to keep and all that type of stuff. So I think the bigger questions and bigger issues are really on
Wow.
ADs. Yeah, Minnesota just cut their track and field program on the men's side, right?
Wow.
I mean, that's big.
Yeah, their men's program on the
Yeah,
men's side, and they've had national champions, everything.
yeah, they just had one 2 years ago. They had the steeplechaser.
That's scary stuff. But yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time as people trickle in or whoever's here. For those of you that don't know, this is Khadevis Robinson, coach at Ohio State. Been a great friend and mentor for me, for a long time. Um, you know, Even back to his running days, and he got a little bit swole. You're on a weightlifting thing a while ago, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
man. But
like, he was making me look real bad. I thought I was a decathlete, but he was like, but yeah, so I'll let him, kind of go into his background. I brought him in just obviously with our distance section and for our class, bringing in somebody with this kind of experience and his background and his knowledge and his passion for the sport. And obviously, he's a lot more entertaining than listening to me. So I brought Khadevis in to kind of share with us, about 5-10 minutes or however much, and ask some questions about training and developing athletes and all that. So, Khadevis, the floor is yours.
all right, yeah. For me, I like to start out by saying my training philosophy is one that's catered around the individual person. Obviously, I have a system. My system is the Igloy method, but what I like to tell coaches is that you can't. I don't feel like you can do cookie cutter stuff. So one of my coaches was really close friends with Arthur Lydiard, but he understood that we all are different. And so what I found to work is that uh, relationships, the way that you say something to your athletes or whomever, it's just like any type of other relationship. You might have a friend or a loved one or a spouse or whatever, and the way you say I care, the way you say are you all right, the way you say I love you, it comes off differently than the way someone else says it. And it's the same thing when you coach. When you look at your athlete or you look at someone and you say, I believe in you. Well, they have to feel that. That's more than just words. And so it's the same thing with coaching. As you're interacting with your athletes and as you're bringing up a coaching program, when you're giving it to them, they have to feel that you really believe in what you're giving them. If you're just saying, okay, do this and do that, and that's what everybody else did, and they have their doubts and fears, then how is that really going to work if they really doubting it? They have to know that whatever you're telling them, whatever you're giving them, you 100% believe in it, so that now they feel comfortable and they feel confident to go out and do it. So I start with the first thing I do with any athletes that I have is I ask them their goals. I ask them, what are your goals? Because I learned when I first started coaching on the collegiate level that we all don't have the same goals. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I was blessed enough to make 2 Olympic teams, about a lot of world championship teams, and I won a good amount of USA championships. And I started to think that if you're a track and field athlete or a cross country athlete or whatever, that your goal is to, let's say, win an NCAA championship or make it to the Olympic Games. What I learned is that's not everyone's goals. Now, that was foreign to me, because it's like if I was to go to any football field and I see a football player and I say, hey, man, what do you guys, what's your goals in football? Every 99.9% is going to say, I want to go to the pros or I want to win a Super Bowl. If I go to a basketball player, I want to make the NBA, I want to go to the pros and I want to make the NBA championships or whatever, right? So for me, I was thinking, like, if you're a college athlete or if you're an athlete, what are your goals? And I would think somebody, oh, I want to, maybe make the Olympic team or something. But I realized that's not the case. So I made that mistake enough to start out by, when I'm going to coach someone, I say, hey, what are your goals? What are your short-term, what are your long-term goals? So after I get that, I need to understand what is their motivation, meaning why are they running? Why are the athletes out there? You see, here's the deal. Some athletes are out there because they want to be national champions. Some athletes are out there because there's some girls out there that they like. Some athletes are out there because it's the only sense of community and camaraderie that they've ever had in their lives. Some of them are out there because it's a stress reliever, meaning when they're running, that's when they get to think and just be with themselves, and it's an antidepressant. So I needed to know, why are you running? Because if I'm going to someone, I'm going, hey, man, you can make the national championship. And in their head, they're like, dude, I'm just here because that hot girl's over there. What is that? It's not going to motivate them. But if I say, hey, check this. Dude, when you was running last week, such and such was checking you out, man. She really wanted you to win. She was cheering you. She was like, he almost got it. So now he going to be like, snap. Oh, yeah, it's on next time. You see, that's the part I have to find out when I'm coaching them. Because now, if you're just coaching high caliber athletes, their goals are all the same. So some of this stuff you don't have to use. But for most of us, we're going to get athletes that are, walk-on caliber to Olympic game caliber. So we're going to, and to be quite honest with you, the far majority of them are going to be the high school caliber that's just out there because maybe it's something they can put on their application for college, or maybe it's something they've been doing their whole life, and so their parents have just gotten used to them doing it. And we have to try to figure out as coaches, how do we get the best out of them? So once I get that, then I start to look at what are their strengths and weaknesses. Are they fast as far as foot speed? Do they have their endurance is really, really good? Are they form and technique good? Or what are they injury prone? Some athletes just, let's just call it, some of them just not competitive, meaning they're not tough. And that's fine. You can work around that, meaning, it's gonna come apart in the race. If you're running track or cross or whatever, it's gonna come apart in the race where you're gonna have an internal battle where you have to ask yourself, do I want to keep going? If you're talking about distance running, forget about it. It's I do speaking, and one of the things I speak about, Will Smith says that the secret to winning in life is reading and running. And I love that so much that I just started a nonprofit called the Reading and Running Initiative. And he says the reason this reading and running is because any issue that has ever happened in life, someone else has had it and they've written about it. And they've written on how they succeeded or overcame it. So if you can go out and find whatever problem you've had, go look for books that's talking about it, and it'll help you figure out how to overcome it. And the second thing is running. And you say, well, why running? And he said, because when you're running, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Eliud Kipchoge. I don't care if you're Meb Keflezighi. I don't care who you are. You're running, there's gonna come a part in that run, in that practice, in that race, where a voice gonna pop in your head and say, man, why are you doing this? Why are you running? I mean, okay, you've gone 10 miles, you really wanna go 20? You've gone an hour, you really wanna go 2 hours? You've done 7 sets, you really wanna do 10? That voice will always say, man, you really, why are you doing this? If you can defeat that voice, you got it made. Because here's the thing about that voice. That voice never goes away. See, people think the voice goes away. It doesn't. It's like, you guys, I don't know, some of you guys are young. You might not have seen the movie A Beautiful Mind. In a movie A Beautiful Mind, have any of you guys seen that movie? It's a great movie. Oh my goodness, you gotta go see it. You gotta see it. Because now you don't know what I'm talking about. And the analogy I'm gonna give you is so good that you would go and tell everybody, book Khadevis Robinson to speak because he gave this analogy. But the point I'm saying is, in the movie A Beautiful Mind, Russell Crowe is this genius. And he starts to go through some mental issues, for lack of a better word, go crazy. And he's seeing people and hearing stuff. And after a while, he's going through this a lot. His life is turned all the way around. After a while, he realizes something. He realizes that the boy and the little girl that he's been seeing for years, he realized they're never getting any older. So he goes, man, you know what? I just realized something. They can't be real. And he said, why? Because they've been chasing me around and messing with me for like 5 years, and they haven't grown or gotten any older. So I know they're not real. So anyway, as he gets his mojo back, he starts back teaching at the college as a professor. One of the old professors come up to him and say, hey, man, I see you're back and you look, you're doing good and everything's going well. How you doing? And he says, I'm doing great. And then the guy says, so let me ask you a question. I know you used to see and hear stuff. He said, are you still seeing and hearing it? And Russell Crowe goes, and he looks over, and the boy and the girl are sitting over there talking to each other. He looks over at him and he tells this guy, yeah, I still see him. And the guy went like this. He said, but I just ignore him. That's how that voice in your head is. You see, it stays there, but you get to a point where you learn to ignore it. You learn to, it's like me, when I was running, I always had an issue because I was an 800-meter guy, but I was considered a big 800-meter guy. And I wasn't this size. I was 160 pounds. But I was considered big because a lot of those Kenyans are real small. And I had an issue with my weight because I was like, dang, man, like everybody here smaller than me. Like, what's going on? So I always dealt with that. I got so bad to it. I never told nobody. I got so bad. I used to weigh myself before every competition. I'll be like, man, and I'll be like, crap, I'm 161 and I feel a little heavy. And then the next time I'm 156, they in trouble, But I got to a point where I had to get beyond that. It always kind of stayed there, but I learned to like ignore it. So that's another thing I get, you learn your athletes, you learn what's their motivation, you learn their why, W-H-Y, why they're running, and then you find their strengths and weaknesses, and then the training come in. Because if you don't have a philosophy, this is what the great Jim Rome says, nothing else really works. It comes as a distance coach, it comes to a point where just adding more mileage is not going to be enough. I say this, and a lot of people don't want to hear it, but it's like, okay, everybody talks about how good Mo Farah is, right? They say Mo Farah's won double, 5K, 10K, Olympic championships, and he putting in this many miles. And I'm like, yeah, but he run 3:28 for the 1500. So is it really the 120 miles he's putting in that's so special? No. So I can fucking, excuse my language, but Chris can put in 120 miles a week. But it's only about 5 people could ever run 3:28. So that doesn't mean you ignore the other part. What I'm trying to say is a lot of people get so caught up in the easy part. And you got to get to the specific part. You got to get to the part what gives you an advantage. You an advantage as an athlete, but also you an advantage as a coach. To me, that's the biggest thing that a lot of coaches are making. They haven't figured out what makes them them. They're trying to motivate and they're trying to help athletes by doing somebody else's system. By doing somebody, and it can work a little bit, but until you have a system and a plan that you believe in, because the way you believe in it and the way you set it up is going to get more out of your athletes than doing it the other way. And if you don't believe in your own plan enough, how do you expect the athletes to believe in it? I mean, let's just be real, And so to me, those are the philosophies. And as you progress, as you work with athletes, you start to see what works, what doesn't work. You start to see how athletes recover. Some athletes, you give them a long run. The next day, they feel great. Others, you give them a long run, man, they feel terrible the next day. And vice versa. Some athletes, you give them sprints, they're ready to go. And others, it's the vice versa. As you learn the athletes, then you adjust. You adjust to what works for them. that part to me is what the part of actually doing the ABCs and all that. Most coaches have that. Most coaches kind of know, okay, if you're a 5K runner, you probably need to put in a certain amount of mileage each week or whatever. Most coaches know how, okay, if you run a 400, if I'm going to do repeat 200s, I want to build a certain amount of lactate. I want you to be able to run for so long for a certain amount of lactate. Yeah, I mean, most coaches can get that. What they can't get is the recovery thing, meaning, okay, I just gave them a workout that's about a 90% workout. Are they able to do another 90% workout 2 days later? Most coaches don't know how to, when you're working with an athlete and you're trying to give them a specific point and they're not getting it, how to change that over. What do I mean? So if you want to get your athlete to lift his legs when they're running, because they're not lifting their legs, and they're running, they're not lifting their legs, and you're saying, hey, man, listen, you need to lift your legs. You're not lifting your legs. See, to them, they feel like they're lifting their legs. That lactate's in them. They can't think straight. They feel like they're running, and they really feel like they're lifting their legs high. When they look on the film, they go, dang, I ain't even lifting my legs. I'm telling you, lift your legs. What you have to do is change the way you approach. So now I don't say lift your legs. I say you need to push into the ground. Because when they tell them to push the ground, what do? They lift their legs. Because they're trying to push hard into the ground, they go. So now as coaching, you got to sometimes know how to say something when you're trying to get something else. That's the trigger. To me, that's the coaching part we need to get. We need to get the part where, you know, at the end of a game, whenever Phil Jackson was to tell anybody on his staff to do whatever, they believe that jump. Whenever Bill Belichick tell his team, they believe it, like, okay, you know, but there's something to be said about that. There's something to be said, I would assume Galen Rupp really believed what Salazar was telling him, and I would like to believe that what's my boy Ashton believe what his coach telling him. Is power in that. But in order to get that, you have to be done built up a relationship before then. You know, so for me, that's how I base my training. I have my system, which is a system, like I said, it's called the Igloy method, which is not one based on mileage. It's more based on effort and time. And the reason it's like that is because I'll give you an example. Do any of you guys run at all? Some of y'all run. So Jeremy, how many miles you put in a week?
Right now I'm between 30 and 40.
All right. Debbie, how many miles you put in? Yeah, Debbie.
I'm lucky if I get a mile in a day.
Okay, so that's 7 miles a week.
I'm not a distance coach. I'm a sprints coach, so I'm trying to learn.
This applies to all of it. Larry, how many miles you put in a week? You on mute. Larry, you on mute.
I'd say about 25, 30.
Peter, what about yourself?
I shoot for 40.
Jenna?
I don't run.
Okay. Is Chris gone? Is he still there? I can't tell. Like he done disappeared on us. But the point I'm making is, so I know that somebody. And what's funny is that picture looks just like how you just sounded on that point. But the point I'm trying to make is, even though I know that Jeremy put in about 30 and Peter put 40 and Debbie puts 1 a day and Jenna don't run at all and Larry put whatever, I still don't know how fast you guys run, right? That's the point I'm making. Just by knowing the mileage part doesn't necessarily tell me how fast you run. You know? Now, if you was to come and say, I can do 5 mile repeats at 5 flat pace, that's a whole nother story. It relates the same to sprint, Debbie. The only difference is
I'm not running less my.
Yeah, I think Chris got to put it on mute, but I think Debbie, it relates the same to sprint, but I think the difference is sprint is a little bit more technical. But really, when you as coaching, it's still that relationship in the athlete, and it's still that mental part to get them to do certain things. You know, when you're doing the start, you're telling them to lean over. You're telling them to do your hand really quick when you're starting out. A lot of them scared they're going to fall on their face. They feel like, you know what? I feel like I'm going to fall over. And you're like, yeah, that's how you're supposed to feel. but they have to trust you that you know what you're talking about and go, well, what the heck she's talking about how you're supposed to feel. You don't supposed to feel like you're going to fall. So to me, that's the thing. As coaches, you guys got to figure out who you guys are. What's your philosophy? What's your system? And you can't just say, well, my system is this. Why is it your system? Why do you believe that why do you believe that if you run the short hurdles that it's 8 steps to the first hurdle as opposed to 7? You can't just say, I just believe it. And you got to be like, I believe it's 8 because I did my research, and most people, they like to go over with this leg first and blah, blah, blah. So we're going to do it that way. Or if you believe you're supposed to put 100 miles a weekend, well, why you believe you're supposed to put 100 miles a weekend? Well, because, I noticed that a lot of people that put less than that in, they don't have the reserves, and whatever it is, whatever. So, because remember, you can go to the last 4 Olympic Games and take sprinters to throwers to distance runners and ask them their training, and it's going to be all different. What does that mean? That means it's no one way to become an Olympic champion or a champion or run fast or whatever. It's just how that individual makes it happen. The guy who broke the world record in the 400, he was in lane 8. He took off. They say you can't win. They say you can't win Olympic gold in the 400 hurdles in lane 1. My boy Angelo Taylor did it. I know this guy personally. He did it. So what I'm saying is, there's no one way, but you got to find a philosophy or something that works for you. And I'm sure his coach, and I don't know this, but I'm sure if his coach probably said, hey, Lo, Angelo's from Atlanta, so you got to, he probably was like, hey, Lo, man, like, they just say nobody can't do it. They ain't talking about you. You from Atlanta, bro. If anybody can do it, matter of fact, you're going to be the first one to do it. Now he gets hype about it. Now he becomes excited about being, you know what? They talking about nobody can win from lane 1. I'm going to show them who I am. I'm going to be the only person. I'm going to be Superman. I'm going to be the only person that can win. You see, that's a different way you think about it. But as a coach, you got to be able to bring that out in them. That's what coaching is about. Because really, if you want to be real, I'm just going to be real on this. Chris might know just as much as the coaches that coach people at LSU in Florida. And then people say, well, why not? Why they not? Because those athletes, right? Not only they might be a little bit more talented, but the system and the belief that they have in there, because just by being in certain environments give you confidence, right? Listen, if you go play for the New England, if you go play for the New England Patriots right now, and y'all go play, the Cleveland Browns, you just think y'all supposed to beat them. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean it's the case, but you get my point. So I try to, whenever I'm speaking, people kind of get upset. They say, well, he didn't say enough about the workouts. Hey, man, listen, I can give you 1,000 workouts. My workouts, what I did, the way I like doing workouts to build confidence. So somewhere in there, if you're a 5K runner, somewhere in practice, we're going to build up to you running almost a 5K. We might run, let's say your best in the 5K is 15 flat. We might run a 4,800, 200 meters short of a 5K in practice, and we are running at 14:45 pace. And then I tell them, I say, now listen, man, you was on 14:45 pace. So you try and tell me that if you was at a competition and your parents was there and your teammates cheering you on, you can go 200 meters and finish up and still run 14:50? You're on 14:45 pace. And they'll go like, yeah, I could. And now they bragging. First thing they done went to Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I just ran a 5K at 14:45, and now they didn't put it on there. That's the approach I use, because it works best for my personality, right? But everybody else is different. So whenever I speak about the training, I speak about that part. I speak about believing in your coach. There's people that Chris didn't coach, that he had a so-called inferior athlete run better because that inferior athlete believed in him more than the superior athlete believed in him. Superior athlete kept coming to him saying, man, I'm better than that person, and I don't understand why they beating me. And Chris trying to tell him, yeah, you are better than them, but you keep questioning everything I'm giving you. You don't believe. This person, I tell them something because they know they're not super good. They like, I'm just going to listen to coach. I wasn't so good in high school, so I'm going to listen to coach. And you're like, well, I was top 3 in the state at high school, and my high school coach, we did it like this. And I'm like, you're not in high school no more. So that's the philosophy. That's my philosophy. It doesn't mean it's the best it's the best for me. It don't mean it have to work for everybody else. But I tell all coaches, you need to have your system and your philosophy. Why else would you be coaching? Why would you come and just, that don't mean you don't take advice and learn from others. That don't mean you don't say, okay, they do this well here, or they do well, and take that part. But to try to be a cookie cutter and say, man, they do, all them do, I see people saying, well, all them do 100 miles a week, they do 100 miles per week. And then I see them 2 years later going, man, I don't know, my athletes just keep getting hurt. Well, maybe they can't do 100 miles a week. I mean, to me, it's simple. It's like, I talk to people and I say, I see them like, it's like the last 3 years been rough. I say, why? They say, I keep getting hurt. I say, what you doing, drills or something? Like, no, it seems as if every time I get to 55 miles, I get hurt. That means 55 miles is kind of the limit. You probably don't want to go past that because you're probably going to get hurt. I mean, how many times you got to go through this? But then, you know what they say? Well, hold on, but everybody else is doing, well, not everybody. You just don't know the ones who are not.
Hey, Khadevis, I want to see if they got any questions for you.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions or anything for Khadevis about workouts, about training, his experience, coaching, you know, top-level athletes, coach with Team USA, kind of been around the best and is the best. So just a good chance to kind of get some inside information. Anybody?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Coach, when you're building the program and you're tweaking it, how much play and freedom do you have until you feel like you really know an athlete? You understand what I'm saying? Like how much, like, okay, well, let's try and push and figure out what makes this athlete tick. Do you give yourself a week, 2 weeks, or are you constantly changing and updating?
I'm constantly, because I don't do, like again, this is me. I don't do a whole month or 2 months out. Some people do it, I don't. And the reason I don't do it that far out, because how in the hell I know how they're going to respond to the practices? If I give somebody 8 600s, and then I already got some later, and if they do and they can't even do the 8 600s, and I'm already playing some on, I mean, wouldn't it make sense that if they can't do that, I adjust the workout? So I'll do it a week. I set mine in weeks, and I get to know the athlete by watching them. I don't do a lot of, I time, but not for the sake of time. I do a lot of effort. Now I time some stuff, but once you start showing the athletes you're timing it, they're not going to focus as much on what they need to focus on. They're going to focus on hitting the time. And there are times that they're hitting the time, but they're not getting what you're trying to get out of it. The time don't always tell you something. The time tell you the time. But listen, there's athletes, I know you can run 6 times 470. But how are you going to how recovered are you on wins is what I'm trying to find out. Are you doing a 6 470? Are you doing them even? Are you going 35 35? Or are you going out in 20 and going out in 30 and 40 or whatever? You get my point? So I need to look at all of that to find out information from athletes. So once you find that, you'll start finding with this athlete, they always going out, they're hitting the time, but in actuality, okay, let's say if they hit 80. Let's say they hit 80s, but they're going 30 50. Now they're going 30 50 and they happy. They get out and they just cruising in. They feeling good. They hit 80, right? But what are you really training yourself to do? You're training yourself to get out fast and then slow up. And then in the race, they go, I don't know why at the end I'm fighting coming in slow. What? Subconsciously, you training yourself to do that. You don't know it if you're always going fast and coming in slow. See, nobody see that. They just see the 80. But it's how you get the 80. But if you do it the opposite, if you go 50 30, now you're really working on that finish, because it's, even though it's slow, you're still going 30 last 200. And your body only knows what it's running, meaning it don't know it's an 80. It just knows you're going 60-second pace for that 400, that last 30. It's going to build up the lactate as if you're running that. That's a whole nother level, but I just wanted to, I get to know the athletes a little bit better.
Awesome. Hey, Khadevis, man, I appreciate you coming in and sharing your time and your wisdom with us. And
my pleasure.
And yeah, man, like it's definitely a blessing and a gift to be able to I mean, this is just a good excuse for me to get a chance to talk to you and see you. So that's because usually I see you at least once or twice a year, U.S. Championships or at a meet or annual meet, something. But yeah,
we
I
got
didn't get a chance to see you this year. So yeah, man.
El Salvador was fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I love El Salvador.
You took it to because everybody said that was the most dangerous place in the world. Khadevis was taking excursions and stuff with assault rifle guards.
I went to volcanoes. I went to little restaurants. You know what I'm saying? I actually found a cold stone in El Salvador. I was like, yo.
I think he thought it was a cold stone, but I don't know if it was a cold stone.
No, but and what's funny, I think I got in trouble because they was like, it's the most dangerous place in the world.
Yeah, top 4.
I know, and I posted something on like Facebook or something. They like, dude, where you at? I'm like, I'm at a mine ruin. Like, this is a freaking real mine ruin. And they're like, you're the most dangerous place in the world. I'm like, well, we'll see, And I loved it, So anyway, thanks for having me on. Hey, Chris, get in my. You guys can find me on any social media. It's just my first name, Khadevis. So it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that. It's Khadevis. And I'll holler at you guys later. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
See you. So next up, we got Joel Pearson. He's coached a little bit everywhere. He's kind of like he's the new kid on the block as it relates to like international race walk. And I know we didn't really get too much into it, but this is the expert, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to hit him up and have him come in. Just because race walk is a little bit obscure, we don't get a lot of exposure, but I think it's a great opportunity for some athletes. Not everybody's going to be that top level 5K, but there's I think there's 6 spots on an Olympic team for a race walk. Joel, if I'm not correct, you can probably elaborate.
Yep. No, yeah, correct.
Yeah, and so that's sick. I mean, you're talking about somebody having Olympic experience and being an Olympian for life, but if we don't expose them to it, they'll never have that opportunity. And so I think it's a great thing to be able to kind of have that. But I'll let Joel, please brag on yourself. Please, elaborate on, your accolades and your experiences and kind of introduce us to race walk.
I was told to show up at 6:30 for AAA, so I'm a little confused, but we will get going. My name is Joel Pearson. I'm here. But I didn't hear what he said. But my name is Joel Pearson. I'm here to talk about the race walk. I'm really excited to be here. Not sure if I've met any of you before, but I hope one day I get a chance to meet everybody. Following Khadevis Robinson is one of the worst things to do in the world because he's so exciting and he's so knowledgeable and he's so alive. And I got excited. I was only on the call for a few minutes. But I'm from Ferndale, Washington. Grew up the son of a long distance runner, which is my dad. He ran for Nike. He was American record holder. He was U.S. champion. So I kind of grew up in the sport. I got involved in race walking because I had pneumonia. What that means is we paid our way for the Junior Olympics. I'm in grade school. I'm in middle school and high school doing everything. We get pneumonia, and it's like, well, that's just where you got to go. So you're going to do the sport of race walking because he coaches at Nike. So boom, that's what you got. So race walking has got a couple of things that's really cool about it. A lot of things on the positive side I'll share with you, a couple on the medium, a couple on the negative. Chris said I can be here until about midnight, so we got about 5.5 hours left from Central Standard Time. But when it comes to the side on the positive is everybody can do race walking. Kind of like when you're looking at some of the other events, throws, jumps, sprints, combined events, distance running, there are certain types of individuals or certain body types that you typically find in a lot of events, whether it's right or wrong, I apologize for saying that. In race walking, you find every single type of person because it's body movement without being in flight. And when you get rid of the in-flight part, you get a lot of different people. You also get a lot of different people because anyone can be successful in the sport of race walk. So when I say successful, I mean anyone could be an All-American, anyone could be, in the U.S. Championships, Olympic trials, and it's something that's wide open. But we're going to start from the beginning, and don't worry, I won't be on here till midnight. Race walking dates back to the beginning pretty much of the Olympics. So in 1892, when they first started having the meetings about the Olympics before it started years later, race walk was thrown in there. So it's been in the Olympics since 1904. They started with the race walk for the 10 mile for the guys and none for the ladies. And it progressed until the 10 mile and the 1500 for guys, then the 10 mile and the 20K for guys, 10 mile and 20K for guys, and then 20K for girls. And it's where we are now, which is the 20K for the men and the women, and the 50K for the men, and about to be the women. We won't get into that too much, but there's a lawsuit, and they've already talked about putting in the Olympics, and they've already put in the World Championships. For as far as these distances, they're pretty far. 20K is 12.4 miles, and 50K is 31.07. So yes, these athletes are race walking 31.07 miles, and excuse me, I turn my phone off, and they're not in flight the entire time. And so as it progressed, the sport started to progress. The distance, moved to 20K to 50K, and the pace started at an actual pedestrian pace and moved into going pretty quick. So how fast do they walk? The world record for the men's 20K, they're walking 6 minutes and 18 seconds per mile, race walking. So they're moving. You look at the women's 50K, one of my athletes is the world record holder on the track for the women's 50K. They're going just over 8 minutes a mile for 31.07 miles. These are real athletes. But when we're getting into why everyone can be successful, it's because there's X amount of spots that you can fill the void and not even X amount of athletes. So if you're looking at from the middle school level, we have something called the Junior Olympics, which I'm sure everyone's aware of. And the top, 3 or 5, depending on what region you're in, goes to nationals. And there's only one region in 2019 that even filled enough to have one person not make nationals. So if you have a race walker in the Junior Olympics or AAU Junior Olympics at the high school level or the middle school level, you are guaranteed a national qualifier. If you go to the national championships, there's only 2 races in all of AAU and USATF Junior Olympics that had enough people to not have everyone be an All-American. So all of a sudden, bam, Chris talks about resume. Your resume is almost fake because you're just throwing All-Americans after All-Americans and national qualifiers after national qualifiers. And so there's only 2 races where not everyone was All-American. Now you move up to the high school nationals, same thing. If you have a race walker in high school, they're pretty much an automatic high school national qualifier for indoor and outdoor. Boom, there goes that resume. You look at the Olympic trials, I will give you some events that they correlate to. To qualify for the men's 20K Olympic trials, you have to run equivalent to about 16:48 for the men's 5K. So 16:48 for the men's 5K at the collegiate level, not very good. Usually takes about 3 minutes faster than that to make it to the Olympic trials in the 5K. Well, 16:38 is going to make it as far as race walking is concerned. So I have 9 athletes that have qualified for the Olympic trials that happen this year or next year, because who knows what's going to happen. And it's all because I got them involved in the sport. So what Chris is talking about and getting the knowledge out there, getting us involved, is if you want to get a quick jump on being successful as a track and field coach, or a quick jump on being successful as a post-collegiate or professional coach, the race walking is the right way to go. So kind of a little bit about the history, catching up before moving to the events, how the events are done, training, and then kind of a recap. So obviously, it started in the 1890s, joined the Olympics in 1904, and right now for the World Championships, they've already accepted the women's 50K. So for the World Championships in Doha and the World Championships in London and before, we now have the men and women's 20K and the men and women's 50K. So I had an athlete that was in London. She was 4th place. She was in Doha. Don't ask me how she did. I'll be drinking more than this glass. But, having that athlete in the World Championships has really helped progress my career. And all it was as simple as being involved in the sport of race walking. And so, anything that you want to be successful can absolutely happen in the sport of race walking. As far as where it's offered internationally, collegiately and high schooly, internationally, Olympics, World Championships, they have an Ekinen relays for race walking. They have their own race walking World Championships. They're involved in the Pan American Games. They're involved in the U20, the NACAC U23 North American Championships for U19. I actually had an athlete last year get 2nd place in the U23 for North America. I think Chris was the coach on one of those teams or something like that. But what I'm getting at is, you could be really successful as a coach. So it's offered everywhere in the world. In America, it's offered at the Junior Olympic level for AAU and USATF. It's offered at the high school national level, indoor and outdoor. And it's offered at the U.S. championship level, like U.S. juniors, it's offered. So there is a lot of opportunities. The one area where there's not opportunities in the sport of race walk is the high school dual meets and high school invites. So if you're in a state like Washington State, where I'm from, or Kansas, where I just moved to coach at Pratt Community College, you're not going to have race walk in one of these track and field meets. But just by having the race walkers on your team, you also, not only helping your resume, but it's also a huge loyalty component. And what I mean by that is there's only about 6 coaches in the country that are involved in the sport of race walking. So I'm gonna say it one more time. There's only 6 coaches in the entire United States of America that coach race walking. 4 of them are pretty terrible. Don't tell them when I said that. And then there's really just 2 of us that are actively recruiting and coaching. Because the other 4 of them are not like yourself. They're not trying to study other events. They're not trying to study maybe the 5-mile motor abilities. They're just like, race walking, I am a machine. You race walk is the greatest thing in the world. If you're actually a track and field coach, you'll be way better already on day 1 than those other 4. So there are hundreds of race walkers in America that don't have a coach because people like myself and the other person can't take everybody on. So it's pretty easy to be successful in that sport. Now moving on to the kind of the races and the technique a little bit. So races are always done on either a track or a road. If they're done on the track, basic principles apply as have track meet. You start in lane 1, end in lane 1. But they have one little small caveat outside of the judges. They have a pit lane, just like NASCAR has a pit lane. So has anyone ever seen Star Wars? Anyone see Star Wars? Raise your hand. No one's listening. Darth Maul, he was walking back and forth when he was really pissed off when he just killed Obi-Wan's master. Anyone see that? That's kind of like the pit lane for race walk. So what happens is when you are race walking, you are not allowed to cheat. And cheating involves breaking one of 2 technical rules. So you always have to be on the ground, have contact with the ground at all times, so you can't be in flight. So if you're running, you have both your legs off the ground. That's a no-no in race walking. And race walking, you have one leg on the ground at all times to the naked eye, which we'll get to, and the other leg is advancing. You also can't have a bent knee from the time that the advancing leg has contact with the ground. I'm not really going to get too much in the rules because if you want to hear about a 3-hour leg strong rules, I can do that on the phone with you or on email or anything you want after class. You don't have to do it, but if you want it, I can do that. And so if you break one of these rules, you get a red card. So there's judges on the track, you're race walking, there's judges, they come in front of you, pow, give you a little red card. By the time you get 3 red cards, you get sent to the penalty box. I kind of related a little bit to the boo box in Peter Pan. Anyone ever seen Peter Pan? Boo box, the scorpion? Okay, we got 1 nod, that's good. All right, Chris, I don't know if they're paying too much attention. I talked about the boo box. Okay, so we got the boo box, we open the thing, the scorpion goes in. So when you get your 3rd red card, you get put in the penalty box. This thing is in lane 6, 7, and 8. It's 10 meters across, it's 5 meters down, and you have to stay there for the length of the duration that you require for the penalty. If you're in a 10K, it's a 1-minute penalty, 20K, 2-minute penalty, 50K, 5-minute penalty. General rule of thumb is you are in a penalty for 1 minute every 10K. So you're in this penalty box, you're pacing back and forth, you can't get aid, you're really pissed off. And then after the time is done, you're back onto the course. If you get your 4th red card, kicked out. So you're done, it's a disqualification. So that's when they're on a track. When they're on a road, the road has to be flat. It has to be 1 kilometer loops or longer, and it has to have the same amount of judges on the track. So if you go to a track race that's race walking, you have athletes race walking on the track, you got 5 judges, they're walking around scouring you, trying to find little things to give you a red card. And if you're on the road, you're going around the road, 5 judges walking around the road scouring to get you on the things. So what a couple of things people try to cheat at is they try to assemble in groups. Now, if you assemble in groups, you can still get caught by lifting because a judge can see people in flight. But when you assemble in groups, it's pretty hard to see if your knee is bent because there's so many different knees going around, they can't tell which one is which. So you kind of cheat a little bit. The other way of cheating, not to teach you all how to cheat, is if you don't want to get caught lifting, you buy shoes the same color as the track. So when my athletes go to Iowa, Des Moines, and Drake, they wear blue shoes. If they're going to go somewhere else and the track's red, we wear our red shoes because it's pretty hard to see if you're in flight if everything is the same color. Cheating 101. Anyways, so moving on a little bit to that. So that's a little bit about the races, a little bit about the technique and how everything works. Now, when it comes to coaching these individual athletes, you coach race walking the exact same freaking ways you do distance running. A 50K runner, I've had the national champion of 50K ultra running for men and women, and then for men and women in race walking, and it's 31.07 miles. So the aerobic component, obviously incredibly high. Lactate threshold, obviously very high. The top in speed development for race walkers and long distance runners 50K, obviously very low. So you're training these race walkers just like you're training the distance runners. So my distance runners, and I've had the pleasure of coaching 16 national college champions. They've all done 5 different things. They've all trained speed, they've all trained endurance, flexibility, coordination, and strength. If I'm coaching race walkers, same thing. Race walkers need to be in the weight room. Race walkers need to be doing hurdle mobility. They need to be doing core, push-ups. I mean, everything you're gonna have your athletes do, race walkers are doing. The technique is the only thing, and when it comes to the sport of race walking that you care about, everything else, just think of them as runners. Because the biggest thing that we find in race walking is people say, I would love to coach race walking, but I'm too scared because the race walking is so unique. While the form is a little unique and it takes time to learn about it and how to work with it, we'll get to that in a second, How to train a race walker is the exact same way. You know, we do the 20K. What's the 20K? That's just shy of a half marathon. If you're a distance coach and you coach the half marathon, you're looking at the same components. Our race walkers are doing a long walk, a semi-long walk, a long run, a semi-long run, intervals for walking, intervals for running over a 14-day, microcycle. And the reason why athletes run, and if Chris had any other coach come on here and spoke to race walking, they would say, do not run because running hurts your race walking. Now, before we insult anybody, well, I'm not actually, we're not before, we're not going to do that. That is really stupid. I will explain to you why it's really stupid. It's very, very simple. From the waist up, your body doesn't know if you're running, walking, skipping, kickboxing, that's the kickboxing. Your body doesn't know what you're doing. So if you're running from the waist up and you're developing mitochondria and all the great things that go on in running, and then you translate it over the race walking body's not going to go, well, we can't use these extra red blood cells because you got them when you were running, and we are now race walking. And so running is one of the greatest things you can do to help with race walking because you're able to run at such a greater, faster pace than you're able to race walk that you can really overspeed or anaerobic or all of all that training you can do for race walking, you can overspeed it without getting hurt because you can't race walk that fast. So when it comes to training outside of form, you're coaching those race walkers the exact same way as you're coaching distance runners. When you recruit them though, it is the opposite distance runners because race walkers are weird. And when I say race walkers are weird, I am the most normal person in the sport of race walking. And I am don't laugh at me, Jenna, and I'm very far from normal, okay? So when I say race walkers are weird, they are weird. So when you're recruiting race walkers, you're trying to sell only one thing and one thing only. Because all of you get into coaching and have race walkers, you'll beat the crap out of me. You're selling the fact that you are going to care about them. Because there's only one thing that race walkers they care about is that nobody cares about them. That's literally the one thing that they know is that nobody gives a shit about them from California to New York and Washington to Maine. So when you swoop in and you're like, I care about you, I care about race walking, they will do whatever you say without arguing. I mean, these race walkers are loyal. Distance runners and sprinters, they'll argue with you until kingdom come. They'll pretend like they have a different philosophy than you. They'll pretend like they're better. Race walkers, they do exactly what you say because no one's ever given them the time of the day to care. Now, when it comes to a couple other things involved in race walking, kind of a little bit about how to become a better race walk coach, reading just basic principles of physiology and distance running make you a great race walk coach. Learning how to, actually won't get into that because I don't want to confuse anyone, scare anyone away. I'm just going to change this. This is the biggest reason why you should become a race walk coach because the U.S. Junior Championships is like the U.S. Senior Championships. So like the Olympic trials, the U.S. Championships, well, there's a junior one. They take the top 6 people at U.S. Juniors to make Team USA versus Canada, and they take the top 4 to make things like U23 or U19, and the top 2 or 3 to World Juniors. Well, so we're going to top 6. The last 7 years, only one time was there 6 boys in the race. Usually there's this many, or this many. So everyone in the race made a Team USA event. When I say everyone, I mean the guy walking this fast. Okay, this guy was out here. He was grinding, man. This guy was grit. Now, that guy right there went not only to Team USA versus Canada, he also went to U23s that were in Mexico. He got jerseys, shorts, t-shirt, jacket, pants, bag, duffel bag, free flight, free hotels, made an international team, all because even though he was the slowest freaking race walker I've ever seen in a race in my life, he was the 4th person to cross that line, and they took 6 to the team. And so, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to get involved in race walking, and one of them is how much success you can have. So right now, we had the Pan American Race Walking Cup. I was down there with 5 athletes, and people say, oh, Joel, how in the world do you have 5 athletes on a Team USA event? Well, it's really simple because I had 5 athletes. That's how I had 5 athletes on a Team USA event because everyone made it, and I had 5. So when Chris talked about 6 can make the Olympic team, they take 3 men in the 20K, 3 men in the 50K, 3 women in the 20K, 3 women in the 50K. And last year at Doha, there was only 1 woman in the 50K, and it was my athlete. We were down there in the Middle East. And it was because only 1 woman during that 8-month period did the freaking 50K. So how many of you have a list of athletes in your mind right now that are like, shit, we get Jill down there. Jill does a 50K race walk. She might be in Eugene in 2022, the World Championships. You're going to like one of the greatest coaches, in the country. You're going to be doing a great job. And so race walking has a lot of great things involved in it. The biggest sell that I have, I don't know if Chris is going to like this because I'm supposed to talk about honor and love and all that good stuff, is You have your athletes make the US teams, you take their shit. So I have like Team USA jackets, half zips, t-shirts, backpacks, duffel bags, because the first team that they made, I was like, you deserve that. The second team they made, I took it. And so you're trying to make yourself, when you go in the mall, in the movie theater, and you're trying to recruit other athletes, you're trying to look presentable, and like you're doing a great job as a coach. And that's one of the reasons why we coach racewalking. But as far as the actual logistics and how to get into it, I don't touch too much on training because I swear to God, I really mean it when I say coaching the race walkers is 100% like coaching distance runners outside the four. Are there anybody that coaches distance runners on this call? Oh, we got one that's really good. So when I mean it's the same, race walk, long walk, semi-long walk, long race walk, tempo, interval mile repeats for race walk, interval 1K meter repeats. It's literally the exact same outside the four. So you just coach them just like you coach the 50K running event or the half marathon, because 20K and the half marathon are pretty similar. When it comes to trying to think of something that's a really good thing to talk about. When it comes to things to do as far as like training that's not exactly the repeats, we spend a lot of time in the weight room, spend a lot of time doing box jumps. We go down to the sand pit. We do a lot of, split jumps, a lot of deep squats, a lot of ankle hops, doing a lot of stuff with vertical mobility, doing excessive amount of core. Obviously, when you're not in flight, you have to keep your body perpendicular, and you're trying to do a lot of core to make sure that you have enough strength in that core area. Now, when we're talking about core, a lot of things are planks and pedestal drills. Just things that our distance runners are going to do, our race walkers are going to do. When it comes to races, there are races everywhere. There are more race walk races in the U.S. championships than sprinting. It's not a joke. No, than jumping, throwing, and combined events combined. Because race walking has the U.S. championships in the following events. You ready? Everybody ready? Here we go. Mile, 3K, 2 mile, 3 mile, 5K, 6 mile, 10K, 15K, 20K, 25K, 30K, 35K, 40K, 50K, 100K. That's on the track. The same events I just said on the road, so double that. And then the mile, 3K, 5K indoors. Those are all the national championships every year that exist for race walking. And half of those, which is about 21, have prize money. So getting into prize money is a real big seller for race walking. One of my athletes, she goes and she wins the U.S. Indoor Championships. There's 4 people in the race. U.S. Indoors gives, Chris, is this right? $6,500 for first place, $4,000 for second, $25 for third, $15 for fourth, and $1,000 for fifth. So that's how much money they give at U.S. Indoor Nationals. That's how many. That's how many people were in the race. Literally, you could go to U.S. Indoor Nationals right now and walk the slowest 3K known to Jesus and get $1,000.
Well, yeah, because you would also get money for going, because if you're one of the top ranked going in, they pay for your travel expenses up to $3,000. So yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you guys. I used to race walk. Don't judge me when I say that. I'm already thinking about getting out of retirement because, man, money is real out here. And so when it comes to money, it's huge. Katie Burnett, someone I coach right now, and Amberly Melendez, the bad news about race walking, they were forced to move to Kansas when I moved to Kansas. So Katie made $48,000 in 2019, counting, money from making the world championships in Doha. Amberly made, I think, $22,000 or $23,000. And it's because all those U.S. championships I mentioned are all the ones you can go to, and they're the same people every race. So if you're, top 3 in the country in your event, and there's 25 national championships, and you're getting, $500 to $1,000 every time you go to national championships, and a lot of them paying for your expenses, you're making a lot of money. And so, for me, I don't know why agents are not really trying to promote getting track and field race walk athletes for them, because they're going to make a lot of money doing that. And so I know the sport is not very popular, but this is the last thing that I want to talk about, is it's based on how we sell it. So yeah, race walking looks funny. I definitely understand that. And yeah, some of the race walkers are pretty weird. I'm weird, I understand that as well. But people only perceive things the way they are perceived from. So if we're like, hey, race walking is really cool, I'm excited to be here, tell with what they say, they're like, you know what? They're happy to be here, they're gonna work hard. So my athletes don't know people make fun of race walkers, I hide it from them. My athletes think that race walking is just treated the same as the 800 or the 4x4 or the 100, because I keep that away from them, and I give them the perception that we're doing really big things out here, and we're trying to make Olympic teams and do all the great things that Galen Rupp's trying to do and everything else. So we're trying to make sure that we can make fun of them behind their back. Not that that's appropriate, don't tell Jesus. But when we are going and approaching our sport, we are making sure that we really give race walking our all. Because all of you guys on this call, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 5 of you could take up the sport of race walking next month and within a year have All-Americans and someone on either junior or senior national team. And maybe that's your duffel bag going to the airport. I landed in London on the way to Doha, and so many people were looking at me because I was cool, because I was swilling my little duffel bag that I was going to said Team USA on it. It was stolen from a race walker. I don't know if I have anything else, Chris. That's pretty much all I got.
No, thank you so much, guys. Like, yeah, I don't think you realize. Don't judge me by my company, through Khadevis and Joel here, but or judge me by them. I don't know, but very, very fortunate to have these individuals come and share their knowledge and experience, and I'll share their emails with you guys through email. And is there any questions or anything for Joel as we wrap up?
There's almost never a raise walk question.
Good. As there should. So, but no, it's seriously, it's like when there's, I'm thoroughly, like, I've had 2 young ladies from our track program, go into race walk and transfer for race walk, to NAI school. And so, those obscure sports and those events, are something that we need to be cognizant of and kind of get out of our comfort zone, because obviously, one, it's part of the sport, but 2, it's an opportunity, a great opportunity. So, but other than that, thank you, Joel, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. It's not like I'm not going to see you. I'm going to see Joel like 5 or 6 more times this year. Right?
Why you got to say, you're saying so unfortunate? Like, you make it sound like it's such a chore.
Well, because Joel and I were planning on doing some level 1s like in person. So Joel's school director for USATF level 1s, and we're planning on doing some like in-person ones and going to some key destinations. But now it's going to be via Zoom indefinitely for USATF level 1 stuff. So and apparently annual meeting. There's not going to be an annual meeting, but it is what it is. So I'm just saying, for the Zoom part, I'd rather like get the whole Joel experience,
Well, before I go, I want to thank everybody. I also want to let you guys know, when he talks about maybe we're friends, maybe we're not. The last time I taught a school in person, I was in Hawaii with Chris. We went to Hawaii together. So that's going to leave with that.
Yeah, that was fun. Yep.
All right, thank
All right,
you
guys.
so much.
Thank you, guys. All right, see you, Joel. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions for me about the class or anything like that? Yeah, Deb.
Okay, so I don't coach distance, obviously, and in doing the reading, it's talking about ramping up and how much the long road should be 20 to 25% of the mileage for the week. And so, what's a good guideline? And I hate to ask this question because there's probably people who around us that know this answer, but since I'm not familiar with this field, and this is probably my weakness, what at the high school level, and I know it's going to be different based on the athletes, but what's good mileage for those high school athletes, distance runners that are doing like 1,600, 3,200?
Yeah, I like the running calculator, and I could send that to you. And also TrackWired is a great place to go. They have some amazing stuff, trackwired.com. But theoretically, you want to keep it, in the beginning, you don't want athletes going over, 10 miles a week if they've never run before, and then you slowly build up into, because it's all about work capacity. So like, what is their cumulative balance? Throwing a freshman in when you have seniors, people that have been running and doing a certain, amount of accumulation for a period of time, and just kind of dropping them into their training program and mileage isn't good. So yeah, it's like I'd rather, in my experience, I'd rather them feel that they need more, especially early season. Like, man, we could do more, and like asking for more. Then you can start, slowly increasing that, but increasing it through your steady state runs, like your slow recovery runs, not increasing it in your intervals or your workouts, your fartleks, or anything that's going to be a little bit more increased intensity. So then you're going to increase the volume through the active recovery type stuff versus anything that's going to be kind of like workout based or event specific. So that's kind of like a general rule of thumb. But like I said, starting out, you want to definitely keep it extremely low, Like I said, especially if you're getting an athlete that's kind of new, I'd rather them be undertrained than hurt. And, that's kind of the fine line. It's like always, because that's the thing. Like a lot of people think that there's like this end all be all when it comes to like mileage or a specific, threshold. And it's all individualized. Like I've had some great 800-meter athletes that I've trained that, were big and needed the mileage and needed to be up, around 40 to 50. And then some that if I did that, they would quit and I would never see them again. So, and they're both run comparable times, sub, 150. And that's just what that is. Like, it's about, obviously style preference, but when it comes to that and how to figure that out, that's where you as the coach have to assess and always look back and, okay, how did they respond to our training? And that's why I like VO2 max is a good indicator of that. So using the 12-minute run, so measuring how far they run in 12 minutes, that, and you can look up like flat VO2 max tests, and that's just a good way to kind of give you a threshold of where they're at in terms of their stroke volume and how their aerobic capacity is developed. So some people are naturally have a good aerobic capacity, some don't, and that's a good way to figure that out.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions, comments, concerns, anything about this week in general? No?
I have a question. You said that you were gonna post a quiz.
Yeah. So
I didn't find it, so I don't know if I just
yeah, I was gonna put it in this link, but then there was a copyright issue with the presentation because I used a YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
And like I got death threats from YouTube, it felt like. So so I was like, I got real frazzled with that, so I just said forget it, like let me just get through this. But yeah, I'll be sending that through this week's email. Thanks for a reminder. But yeah, I just figured I was already going through enough that I didn't want to kick that in.
Get kicked out of YouTube and a quiz too.
Right, yeah, geez. Yeah, just because I used a like 3-minute clip of a steeplechase. So dumb.
Oh geez. When I saw that, when I tried to do the link and I saw that, I was like, oh geez, somebody.
Yeah, I should just use my own. Yeah, but anyways, I digress. But yeah, I'll be sending that, and it's not a big deal. It's like super easy. Like but it's something to help with our assessment and kind of keep track of things and help guide the student learning outcomes. All that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, good. Any other questions? We're good. Thank you guys for joining. Next week, like I said, I'm gonna be bringing some people in and kind of sharing their story and their experience and kind of giving their insight. And so I think it kind of help kind of give us a change of pace, but hopefully provide value and some insight as well. So, but other than that, have a good weekend, guys. Be safe. Try not to breathe in all the fire if you're in California. It's nasty out here right now. But yeah. All right, guys. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. And Jen, don't forget to text me.
Did I text you?
I don't know.
Oh, I think I did.
Okay. I didn't check. So.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
All right. Talk to you later.